All right, welcome back to the workshop. Today we're going to be in the woodworking side of this facility because I'm getting tired of working on small engines all the time. So we're going to try something a little different. I don't really have any big projects going. I've had one request for a birdhouse. Yeah, I know. Simple birdhouse. So we're going to go ahead. Maybe we'll do a couple of them. Let's see what we've got here. I went out there and just looked at it, try to get some dimensions because we need to have that. And I found several different pictures of birdhouses. I think we're going to start out with probably this one here, which pretty much easy little plans, just a quick download of. If you need to see them at all, it's just a 6-foot board, it looks like, 1x6. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can find me one of those. We'll go ahead and kind of follow these plans. After that, I may try to get into maybe a little bit more, maybe that one next. That's kind of a cool, simple one. This is kind of a rustic one. I don't know, maybe we'll do something with that. And I don't know, log cabin, that kind of looks cool too. I don't know, we may build all 4 of them, who knows. We're going to go ahead though and start out with this, see what it works like. Not too much to it. I don't know if I might modify that a little bit. I don't know how that really goes together. It don't look like there's any angles on there. I think the roof needs a little bit of an angle, so I think I'm going to put an angle on that a little bit. I don't know, we'll see. We'll take a look at it. Let's see what we can do with it, modify it as needed. So we'll go find me a piece of wood to work with first. Okay, so the first thing we got here is we need about 6 foot of lumber, and I just happen to have some old pallet wood around, so I think I'm going to just take some of this old stuff. I've got a few more pieces over there if I need them. We're going to go ahead and just cut these to length. We'll kind of decide whether we do a lot of finish to them or if we leave them a little bit rough. We're going to see if we can make something out of this, I think. So we'll just cut them up. We've got all the pieces here. I'm going to go ahead and cut all the pieces to length. And we'll just have to make sure we've got enough of these. But I've got several over there, so we'll have to cut them to width, run them through the saw. Let's see what we got. Okay, all pieces are cut, and we'll move on to the next one. That's all that took. Let's see what we got to go to next. Let's set these over here. We've got plenty of other boards laying here if we need to. That might be the next one we do. Who knows? We'll see. So I think, according to the plans, it's really just put the thing together. And we'll have to figure out just what we want to do. This thing just says nail everything together, so let me lay it out, make sure that we're exactly the dimensions and they look like they're going to fit. And we'll have to cut this hole. I don't think it actually has to be oblong. We could do an oblong hole on it, but 1 3/8 by 2 1/4. I think we could probably just get away with 2 1/4. I think that's about all most of the holes are. So I don't know if we'll go that elaborate. Maybe we will. Let's see what we can do with it. Okay, we've got this one kind of set where it's going to be, and then we need this. It's going to sit on the top of that. So we just kind of had it set in place. We'll go ahead and drill us our hole. I think what I did end up with, according to these plans, it should be, let's see, 6 inches from there to the bottom of it. So we'll go ahead and mark that 6 inches. And each of these things are a little bit different depending on the bird that you have. I believe is what they're saying, or what I'm catching up with. And then we're going to make this, most of the plans I say are 1.5 inch hole works fine for this. So we're going to go ahead and just do 1.5 inch hole, be done with it. So 1.5 inch up from there, and we'll get the center of this board, which is 5.5 inches. Of course, find the center of that. You turn your tape measure sideways, put it on 6, and half of that is 3 inches, so that'll be the center of the board that way. So we're in this area here. That's the bottom of the hole. So we want to come up, it fits 1.5 inches, so we want to be about 3/4 inch above that. So that's going to put us right there. That's where we'll drill our hole. So we'll go ahead and set this in the vise and drill us a quick hole. Let's see if we can set this up real quick and make it work. We might make a birdhouse out of this. I don't know. We're going to find out, aren't we? It's kind of a little cheapo project. Let's see what we can do. Okay. And we've got us a hole, so we're ready to go that way. We'll take that and we'll set it back up to put right here. And I think we'll be fine there. All right, so there. That's really all we're going to do. And according to that, it's just leaving this top roof on a little bit of an angle, so we'll attach it there. And we should be good to go. Let me see what we got to do. The next thing we do have to worry about is a way to clean this thing out. And it's telling us we need some nails, pivot, and then some nails to actually hold it closed. So we'll want to have that fairly solid there, but we want it fairly loose at the same time. And we also need to drill, I don't know, they say in air holes, but we've got air holes up at the top, so I don't know if that's really important. And in the bottom it does have holes, so maybe we'll do some 1/4 inch holes in the bottom real quick and let that air out. But we can go ahead and attach all the other sides, I think, and just leave this one side loose until we get put together. So let's go ahead and see if we can kind of nail that, glue it together maybe. Okay, now you can hand nail all these things, I'm sure. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to do a little bit of gluing, and just to see if we can strengthen it up a little bit. Add some glue to it. Smear that down through it. And then we'll stick that right on that. Make sure she's kind of lined up a little bit where she needs to be. And then I'm going to cheat and put me a little thread nail in there. It's got a heck of a curve. There we go. So kind of hold that together. That'll be that side. And the next one we need to hold on to it is going to be the bottom. So we'll go ahead and put a little layer of glue on that. And just simply set this in there, like so. And we'll hit that with a couple little nails. Okay, so now we've got that. We can go ahead and set that right on top of there. And the next part we'll need to do is going to be the bottom here. So this is going to sit on that like so. So we'll go ahead and put some glue on this one here. And here. Wipe away that excess, we don't need that. Alrighty, we'll put a couple nails in this one. Right, the basic birdhouse is there. Now we need to put the roof on it. Probably that way there. Really don't specify too much on that. I almost want to just leave a little bit of a gap because I do want the water to run off. So we'll probably just split the difference. And I think we're just going to shoot that right where it is too. shoot that down from the top. Water runs off. We're looking like a birdhouse. I do have a couple of nails to split out. We'll cut those off real quick. And the only thing else we need to do now is to design a way to have this so that it'll open. And I think the way they had this, I'm not really sure how we're going to do that exactly, but probably a couple of nails or something in it just to hold it in place, or a couple of screws to hold it in place. So let me find something to do that with. Okay, actually I think I kind of messed up. I should have put these the other way around so I had that sitting in there. But anyways, we're going to go ahead. It's not going to swing open. We're going to make it so we can just put a couple screws in it. And if you need to get into it, we'll unscrew it and do it that way. So we'll kind of pilot these because these are thin boards. And I don't want it to split too badly. And we'll just put our 4 little screws into it and call it a birdhouse. And at that point, you can get into it, clean it out once a year if it lasts that long. This is not treated wood, so who knows? Let me grab a drill bit. Our little birdhouse ready to go. All right, that was simple enough. I did forget to drill the holes in the bottom of it, so we'll go ahead and take a little bit maybe and drill that. So little 1/4-inch holes. I did say they wanted 4 little holes in the bottom of it, I guess, to drain. So you can measure these out wherever, but I think I can. Speed this drill up a little bit. There we go. There we go. And maybe we'll put a little hole up here at the top in the center. Looks about right. And that'll give us a way to hang it. And we've got this little rustic birdhouse. And if you can say simple, that's about as simple as you can make a birdhouse. And cost, basically nothing. You usually pick up an old pallet someplace, clean it up, set it on there. Don't need to be fancy. Birds ain't that fussy. Might hit that with a little bit of sandpaper just to smooth it out. Make it a little smoother for them to get in and out. Some birds do like a little perch. So if you did want to do that, that would not be a major thing. We could drill and put a little hole in the front of that for a perch. They don't show one on the plans. Let me go ahead and do it though anyways. Okay, I found me a little dowel, 1/4-inch dowel. Should be about the same as that drill bit I was just using, I think. I think that's 1/4 inch. We're going to drill the hole and see. So we want to be, I don't know, I think about 1.5 inches or so down from the center of that hole. And we'll about center it here. Looks like about there. Go ahead and drill that through there. Let's see if this thing's going to fit that. Or, I think I need a bigger drill bit. Let me find one a little bit bigger here. Okay, that was a 5/16 dowel, not a 1/4 inch. So we'll go ahead and drill this to 5/16. There we go. And that should fit in there. And we're going to take that and just dab it with a touch of glue on it. If we can get a little glue out of my bottle here. Won't need a whole lot. And we'll push that through. Okay, that's right to the edge of that. That should do us fine. There we go, little perch for the birds. I think that'll keep them happy. All right, so much fun for that one. Kind of looks cool, I guess. I don't know, kind of rustic, but looks neat for the cost. I bet birds will like it. We'll go ahead and go to the next one. Let's see if we can get something a little bit nicer than this. Okay, let's try the next one. Let's make this one a little bit nicer than the last one. This is just kind of a grade up from it, so we're going to go with this. And out of this one, I think we're going to go ahead and make this one out of some old heart pine. I've got some old boards here again. Half my project is finding some old boards I've got laying around that I can work with, that I don't have any other purpose for. Birdhouse is a good way to use up some of the old lumber sitting around if you need to, I think, because they're not real big pieces. I've got these. I've got a few other little scraps if I need to, but I think I've calculated if I cut these just right, I should be able to make a birdhouse out of it. So we needed, according to this, there's not a whole lot of plans, but 11 7/8 inches. So that'll be the front and the back panel on it. So we're going to go ahead and get that measured out, and I think we can get those out of this board. And that needs to be at its widest point, 7 inches. And I've got right about 7 inches. So I think we can do that without a problem. We're not going to worry about cutting that just yet because we got to do the layout to see how it's going to fit in here. Try to avoid these nail holes as best as possible and make 2 of them. So let me go ahead. I think first thing we'll do, we might have to cut it down just to make sure I've got as much wood as I can out of there. If it has to move a little bit, then we'll adjust to that. But I think I will take this on the saw. Let me rip it down to exactly whatever width I can get out of it, and then we'll have a good square starting point for measuring. So here we go. Okay, so the first thing we'll need to do, of course, is going to be determine the 11 7/8 inches, it says, from top to bottom. So we'll mark that, 11 7/8. I don't know where they come up with that, but hey, we're going to go with it. So 11 7/8. That'll be the top of it. We'll go ahead and square that off so we know what we're working with. And then we need to find out, here it says that 7 inches is our max width, which we have exactly 7 inches after we clean that up. And then our outermost points are going to be 6 7/8 from the bottom to the widest point. So 6 7/8 up. We'll mark those 6 7/8. And we'll just square that off right here. And so then we need to know the center of this board. And if we're 7 inches, that makes it 3.5 on each side. So that'll be our center point. And we'll need to mark that also down here at 3.5. So then our next question would be, this dimension here is going to be 4.5 inches. So that would be 2.25 inches either side of the center mark. So we'll mark that 2.25 and 4.5. That kind of marks those points. And then we've got to determine up here at the top is good. So we're going to go from here to here, and then from here down to here. And that'll be the whole markup. So we just got to throw a marker on here, line that up with that. There. And here. And then we go from here to here, and we'll go up this side next. All right, so that's pretty well got us marked out. The actual, what we want to get rid of is going to be this part, get rid of that part, get rid of that, get rid of that. Now on this front hole, we do also have to, let's see, the opening is going to be 1.5 inches of open, 5 7/8 from the bottom. So 5 7/8 inches up would be the bottom of the hole. So we're going to go ahead and mark that for this one here, because this is going to be the front one. And it'll go up 1.5 inches from there. So it's going to be right here at 1.5 inches hole. I have 1.5 inches drill bit right here. We can pretty well line that up. Also need to find the center. Let's do that real quick. 3.5. So our center bit's going to be someplace in that area there. And we'll just kind of set it where it needs to be. And looks to me like it's going to be just about there. Just for optics, we're going to mark it off a little bit just to make sure it looks about right. And when we go to drill it, it's going to make the hole perfect. So that's about what we'll end up with. I don't know if you can even see those marks on the board. Hopefully you can. So we'll go ahead and cut this one out. And we'll take that and just spot it over here and make it the same on that side. So let's see what we can do to cut this thing out. Okay, and to make these two exactly the same, I have decided that I went ahead and cut the other one. And we've got it just laying on top of each other. I'm going to run this probably through the bandsaw, so I'm just going to go ahead and take a screw and just kind of screw these together, all the pieces, so that they don't move. And as I cut it loose, these will just go to waste, which won't bother me at all. There we go. Now I don't have to worry about measuring or anything. They'll be exactly the same, so we'll go ahead and take these to the bandsaw. And I'm just going to bandsaw all the corners off. Okay, I've got the front and the back cut, and we're going to go ahead, while we have it here, we're going to go ahead and drill this out, as we're going to need it drilled. So we'll center that hole right where it needs to be. From both sides, so I don't have that tear out on the back side quite so bad. That just keeps it from ripping out. So we've got our hole. We'll do a little bit of sanding on that. There we go. So we'll move on to the next piece. Okay, we're going to go ahead. The next biggest pieces we've got are the 7¼ inches wide and 10 inches long on this one, and this one's going to be slightly shorter because it's going to just meet up there. So we'll have to cut that at probably some angle. I don't know if that actually works out to a 45 or not. Probably not. So we'll have to calculate that a little bit there, I think, to get it to work perfectly. But this piece of wood, I think we got is enough to do that. We've got nail hole here. It's fairly square, but it gives us 7¼ So I'm going to go ahead and rip this down to 7¼ and then we'll hopefully make this thing split right on one of these joints to give us the two different lengths. So we're going to go ahead and work on that. Let me cut her down. Okay, I've got the one board cut at 10 inches, which is just a square cut board here. And that's pretty much all it shows. And we need to get this one to come up and match up with it. In order to do that, I need to know what the angle is up on top here. So what I'm going to do is just take this. I know this is going to sit here like this. I'm going to put it on there and line it up. We know that's exactly the angle. We'll cut that. And we'll just go over to the saw, put the saw on the angle there. And we should be good to go. We can figure all that angle out on what we need. With the square here. We don't really have enough there to do it. So we're going to have to figure that out. But that's all right. We can make that work. Probably just go over there and eyeball it and see how close it is. So that's where we're going to cut it off at. Okay, we've got that cut. I figured it out. We did a couple just trial runs and we ended up with, I believe, about 21 degree angle. I've cut this on an angle there. And I came back through. They didn't really specify it, but I like that. I cut the other half also at that same angle, so when they come together up here, it actually makes a pretty decent peak. Now the next thing I needed to do is make sure, they say that this board should be 9¼ inches long, but I don't think they went through the aggravation of doing that. So what I'm going to have to do is I've put my square down here, and I want to come square off of that, the same distance on both sides. So that's about 4½ inches. So I want to come up about 4½ inches on this side also. And we're going to make us a little pencil mark. And we're going to cut it off right there at the 4½ mark. And that'll get us our right size for both sides. So we'll go ahead and hit that real quick. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we're going to have to figure out the length from here to here, and there'll be angles on each one of these also. So we'll have to cut a piece of wood and we'll kind of work it together. We know that the sides are supposed to be inside of this. So this dimension in here is going to be 5 inches. And they say it's about 6½ inches tall, and that's about what we ended up with. So that'll be pretty close, but I'm going to go ahead and cut that a little bit long. That way we can get the angle here, and I also want it to be flat on the bottom here so that it all matches up. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can get some 5-inch wide boards out of one of these. Here's a 5-inch board I believe we can get out of this one. And I believe we got this one over here as spare. I can cut this one into 5 inches and 6 also. So I think we can make this work for those two, and then the only thing else we'll have is the bottom, and we'll be able to find a little piece of scrap to put in there. So let me go ahead and cut these to 5 inches. Okay, and I calculated this also on here same way. I just basically took it and set it up against the bottom of this, and we marked it. We set that on there where it's going to set, marked it, put it back down here, and found out after that we calculated it out, and that's actually a 45-degree angle, fits up in there just perfectly. So we've cut that, and now what we'll need to do is to cut this square with the base. So we'll just make a mark on that and have that set in. I got to, yeah, that'll be even with that. So we'll go ahead and cut that one in. Okay, for the bottom angle, we're just simply setting the birdhouse together, make sure all the lines up. And once that does that, we can go ahead and just scribe us a pencil mark. And now we have that angle set up. And we'll go ahead and cut those two the same length. We should be good to go. Okay, this bottom angle here ended up being about 12 degrees when you cut it off. So that works good, 12 degrees there, 45 up at the top. The birdhouse is looking pretty close. The only thing we have left to do is to build this bottom piece and then start putting it together. So it's pretty much right there where it needs to be. We'll probably try to just glue it together and make sure she's gonna stand up just like she is. So I think it'll work out all right. Let's go ahead and cut this piece here, and it looks like it's got to be right at 4½, and upper is 6 3/4 on my particular one. Like I say, it says 6½. I'm off by 1/4 inch. Like I say, I don't think that's critical difference. So we'll go ahead and cut that little piece and get it ready to stick on there, and we'll start gluing this thing together and see how she looks. Okay, all the pieces are cut. I think it's looking pretty close to what that one is. We'll go ahead and I'm going to do a little bit of sanding on it. We'll glue it up. We'll put the roof on last so that I can sand everything, make sure it fits up smooth. And then we should be in good shape. So let me sand. I'm not going to bore you with that. You know how to do that. And then we'll just glue her and probably take a couple little brad nails to hold it together while it's drying up. Okay, we've got the framework all done, sanded up, looks pretty good. Now we're going to go ahead and do the roof. I'm just going to go ahead and put a little glue in her and a couple tacks there to get her to stay in place, and we should be in pretty good shape, and we'll set her up on top. Let's go ahead and put a little bit there. Just enough to seal her up. And that goes like that. And line her up perfectly. Other side is right where it needs to be. This roof will sit here. We're going to make that back side pretty much like that. And if they want to hang it, we'll just let that overhang just that little bit. And we'll attach that to it. I think I'm going to sand this a little bit before I put it on there though. So we'll go ahead and sand that up and see if we can attach it. Okay, we've got it all sanded down. And the only thing we're going to do now is we'll lay a little bit of glue on here, and then we'll put the roof on there, and we should be good. And have us ready to call this almost a birdhouse, I think. Shouldn't take a whole lot to hold this on. It's probably not going to be a perfectly tight fit anyways, because they just probably aren't without clamps and glue. We might have to put a clamp on it. Let's see. Now I'm leaving this flush on the back and let it do the overhanging on the front side here. Just like so. Go ahead and just put a couple little nails in this just to hold it in place. Front side looks pretty good. I might go ahead and put one on there too, just because. And this one here is a little bit of a gap. Let's see if we can pull that on down a little bit. That looks pretty tight. So I think we're good to go on that. Now the only thing we have left is we'll flop her up and we'll screw this to the bottom of it. And that way if we need to clean it out, we can do that. And that should really pretty much take care of this birdhouse too. So we'll go ahead and get that handled. Just a couple little pilot holes and a little screws. Okay, looks like birdhouse number 2 is done. Like I say, we just drilled and countersunk, put a couple screws in there. Now to hold this up to where you want it, I would imagine you could either set it, they've got it shown on a post here. I imagine you could take a little L bracket or something put on here up against a tree and it would hold that up. It's not really that heavy, so I would probably say that would be as easy as anyway. And then if you want to clean it out, simply take the 4 screws out and everything just drops out the bottom, and then you start going again. So that's what it shows, that's what it is, and we'll call that good for these birdhouses, and we'll work on another video to get some more birdhouses out, maybe see if we can get a little bit more elaborate from here. So but for today we'll call that good, and hopefully this helped out a little bit for you if you want to build a little birdhouse. These 2 aren't bad options. I kind of like this one a little bit better. It takes a couple of minutes longer, but that's a good little design. So anyways, appreciate you checking it out. Catch you at the next project.